After being asked multiple times, Ragnar finally accepted the invitation to join the humans in the holographic center. The humans themselves are renowned for their augmented reality technology, so much so that a common phrase is, humans will do anything to escape reality, even for a moment. Everybody knew this because the use of certain drugs, in particular things like ethyl alcohol, are still in common use for humanity. At this moment, though, Ragnar was not worried about ethyl alcohol. He knew that if he drank it, it'd kill him anyway, so he had to worry about what was happening right now. He had heard the stories about how the humans use these holographic centers. Such devices are used to deal with the human's based instincts and desires. Many of the stories of the humans inviting things like a Luca, Slippy, Tact, and even a Nem like himself into a holographic chamber, only to seduce and attempt to mate outside the standard mating cycles of said species. This would be disturbing, but the disturbing part is that it works. The tentacle-covered Laku have been known to expend so much energy and biomass when they're inside one of these holographic stations with a human that more than once the Laku had to be carried out by the human and would inevitably spend several planetary rotations in a coma. The amphibious Slippy have actually become addicted to such holographic adventures, so much so that they can't seem to stop, and doing this would end up disturbing their seasonal scheduled mating period, though they could get it back on track if it was only one simple mating period. However, if they continue to be around the humans and mess up their schedule, the schedule internally would be destroyed. When the Emperor and Empress of the Slippy fell victim to this, their eldest actually needed to pass a decree that it will now be illegal to partake in such activities. However, the rumors had already spread and there was not stopping them. The rumors of entering a holographic chamber with a human, how it would bring euphoria and pleasure, so much so that you will still find young Slippy approaching a human and questioning them about it, eventually being, as the humans say, talked in to attempting this, and then the issues may begin. The mammalian Tact would enjoy using their powerful wings to lift humans and carry them to the holographic chamber. The holograms have difficulty reproducing the human aroma of fear, which is why the Tact would usually grab a human just randomly, making sure they don't see them, as humans have this issue with being up in the air all of a sudden. As the humans would say, they have no problem with heights. It's falling and then the sudden stop that scares them. However, this causes said aroma to permeate from the humans, and this aroma is enough to send the Tact into a very aroused state. Once they carry a human inside said holographic chamber or holographic center, whichever one you want to look at, they use the holograms themselves to change the appearance of themselves and the humans, so the humans will find them more attractive, more erotic, and then ring the bell, it's game on. When other species heard about this, they didn't understand because the Tact and the humans don't exactly look all that similar. That is, they still have the basic shape and certain parts do in fact line up. However, the dimorphism, the thing that actually draws humans in, is just not there, which is why the Tact end up using such holograms. Yet everybody wanted to know why the Tact wanted to do that with the human anyway, but eventually they looked into the way the Tact operate, and it turns out that though the Tact have very powerful wings, the rest of their body is rather weak by standards, and for the Tact, the power of the human is by itself addicting. It seems as though they like to be squeezed and held and pulled. It's all about dominance with their species. And of course, they have to be talked into trying the hologram once to actually understand that this is an option, yet once turns out to be enough. This is why, unless they're actually going to or coming from said holographic center, if a Tact is around, humans don't go anywhere near it. Ragnar remembered that Nems, like himself, find the size of humans to be almost cute. Since the average Nem male is about 2.3 meters tall and the average females are roughly around 2 meters tall, they almost seem like children to the Nem. Children that are far more maneuverable than a Nem ever could be. They're stronger and much, much more flexible. As a bonus, they also have less sharp teeth, which many of the Nem actually prefer not to have to worry about something being bitten into or bitten off. There's also the fact that even with their height, the human's musculature is the same size as the Nems, which means with a shorter stature, the muscle density is actually much, much higher. This is why Ragnar is actually hesitant, very hesitant, to join the human in, as they put it, a fun scenario. The humans actually had to show Ragnar and the other non-humans what they're going to be doing, how they're going to join. Many asked, "This is entertaining to humans?" The humans would say, "Well, if you're too scared, then we can just go without you." They always said this, as the pride of the Nem will always force them to join, and in their culture, anything is better than being labeled a coward. Showing up to the holographic center, everyone looks at the humans as they are in some sort of strange costumes, some sort of strange green outfits that they all wear with some sort of brown covering, straps that cover them. They ask why the humans are wearing such clothing and carry such strange devices, and the humans simply say, "Oh, it aids in the immersion." After the 20 or so humans start outfitting the non-humans and giving them certain items to hold on to, they simply walk into the holographic center. They'd already set up the program, and once the doors shut, the hologram begins. Ragnar looks around. He's on an unknown... What is this? It's a piece of metal. It's a boat? I'm in the ocean. Oh, we're under fire. He realized that things are shooting at them as explosions blast all around them, and it seems to be almost pitch dark as the boat seems to move sideways with each explosion that lands near them. The water splashed around as he could hear a human voice yell out, "30 seconds!" Looking around to all the holographic people around them, Ragnar and the rest of the non-humans were just confused. Normally, there's a little bit of introduction to each of these scenarios, but now they were just thrown in and realized that the humans that brought them in just wanted to start the scenario immediately. A few moments later, Ragnar could hear sand under the boat as it scraped, and then suddenly the front drops. "Oh, that's a ramp," he thought, and he saw the humans run out, as most of the holographic humans are torn apart by projectiles that are whipping by, snapping and whipping as blood seems to squirt out all over the place. Not a lot of blood, but enough to make them sit there and go, "What the hell?" Then all of a sudden, one of the humans simply turns back and yells, "Move, will you, damn it!" And with that, they get up and move and realize they're on a beach and they must get to said prepared positions. As they did, explosions blow up all around them, blowing some of the non-humans to absolute pieces. He can't smell it, but he knows there must be guts in the air. Ballistic is firing all through the air from all different positions. It seems as though everything is just going to hell. Around them, humans, at least holographic ones, are being killed and torn apart. The blood seems to be everywhere, pooling up right underneath the bodies, as one of the humans is simply blown to pieces, and another one is dragging a holographic human behind cover, and then continues to advance, seemingly not caring about what's going on, only focused on the task ahead. As Ragnar follows, he can see light whip past him as though a pulse rifle is being fired at him. He had heard about these things before and realized that there's projectiles in between said glowing dots, and he needs to not be in between them, ever. So he continues. He continues moving, and as he does, explosions push other non-humans over as they advance over all the bodies and debris that's in their way, trying to scurry from point to point, trying to make sure they're not struck by anything. They may not be hurt, but the sights and sounds and sometimes smells, and of course the sensation of these holograms is seemingly all too real. Ragnar ends up crawling as fast as he can over the bodies, leaping and diving, ending up on all fours as he's trying to get from the water to the edge of the hill in front of him. As he finally reaches the edge of the hill, a massive explosion sends him flying backwards, and this time, he felt the impact on the ground when he landed. He realized the human holograms can't do everything, yet he gets up and hears one of his human friends yell, "This way!" as he looks over and sees them waving towards where the explosion happened. Now, all the debris, all the obstacles were gone. That was his way up. Breathing hard, Ragnar steadied himself and tried to run and shoot at the same time, but as he did, the weapon in his hand isn't working. He ran up as fast as he could to the closest human friend he saw and said, "This thing is not functioning." The human looked at him as kind of disgusted, grabbed the weapon out of his hand, opened up the action, wiped off all the sand as best he could, then blew out the rest of it and handed it back and said, "You need to keep the action clear." And then the human simply grabbed his weapon and advanced with a look of sheer determination in his eyes. Ragnar looked around and saw that the other humans and non-humans that were not quite holograms were running towards this area, and he had to follow. He had to go as fast as he could. He ran up the hill, firing as he could. It was a complete running firefight as they climbed up as fast as they could. He saw bodies falling down the hill every time he fired. Holy crap, this is what humans do? As he finally got to the top of the hill, he thought he'd have a chance to catch his breath, but he didn't have time as one of the other humans just grabbed him and yanked him off to the side before another explosion detonated. Ragnar got to his feet and he saw how explosives and fire were used against the opposing position, as the ballistics in the hand of himself and those that had joined him in the hologram were being used against the strangely dressed human holograms. After about 2 hours of this complete running firefight, running, diving, jumping, shooting, trying to dodge explosives, in one case bouncing one of these strange death orbs back towards the humans and listening to them scream right as it explodes, Ragnar was now trying to catch his breath. Him and all the other non-humans were on the ground, breathing heavily. Their bodies were bruised from all that jumping and running and diving, and even fighting hand to claw against human holograms that seemed to be hell-bent on killing them. The scenario, thankfully, had ended, and all the human holograms had now been removed in just a moment, along with all their blood, their entrails, and their weapons and everything else. The only thing that remains is the fake terrain. He looks up as he's still trying to catch his breath. The humans are walking up to him, talking casually about what just happened. One even seemed a bit distressed as he screamed up. He said, "That's definitely not my best time." The humans actually turned around and said, "Well, you want to go again?" But this time, they're going to bring the realism up to its peak. Ragnar suddenly opened all of his eyes and was thinking, how is that not realism if we just watch humans being torn apart, blown up, and everything else? With that, he said that he wasn't sure if he was able to go again and how that realism, what would change. One of the humans simply turns it, "Oh, it's okay. You guys got weak stomachs anyway. I know you wouldn't be able to handle it." With this, Ragnar looked, along with everybody else, at the humans, and they simply had anger in their eyes, realizing that this insult could not stand. Another hour and 41 minutes later, Ragnar and the others leave the holographic room. Ragnar immediately takes a few steps out, drops to his knees, and vomits. He actually takes a little bit of pride in the fact that, one, he didn't vomit in the holographic center, and he's not the only one that does. It doesn't matter if it's from exhaustion or from the true violence they had just witnessed. At least he's not the only one who lost his lunch. He wouldn't hold anything against anyone at this point, as he just watched thousands upon thousands of humans getting burned up and screaming in pain as the smell of burned flesh permeated the air. The holograms screaming his pain on the ground as they bleed out friend and foe alike. Explosion tearing off limbs or vaporizing human bodies. Many of them not dying instantly, but on the ground screeching for somebody they call Doc or someone else they call Medic. It was horrific. There was also the constant roar of artillery that came in with a completely devastating explosions that would tear everyone to pieces. The unending rattle of machine guns. Ragnar realized that he was shaking a little bit and then brought his claws in tight to stop himself. As he did, he thought to himself, how can humans find this entertaining? He turned and he saw the humans walking out, seemingly unaffected by what they had just experienced. The one that invited him casually just walked over to the exterior console, and he could see on the console it said, Program in progress, Omaha Beach invasion, location, Earth, date, human calendar, June 6, 1944. He had heard about this, but he didn't pay that much attention. Then he saw one of the humans looking at all the others on the ground as they're still trying to get themselves composed. Looking back to the other humans, this one in particular says, So, how about Poltova next time? Another human said, I was thinking Hacksaw Ridge. Then another one chimed in, How about Thermopylae? No, we did that last week. We could try Verdun. Ragnar heard these before and remembered hearing about that last one in the human history class. He looked over to see the humans agreeing, some of them even having that strange, what they call it, smile on their face, as though they're enjoying something so brutal and looking forward to something else, even worse. During this thought, Ragnar and the others finally got on their feet so they could leave. Before the group could leave, they saw the next group that had reserved the holographic center. To no one's surprise, it was a group of Tact that had arrived. Even without inviting any humans, they so enjoyed the holographic centers. One of said Tact motioned to another, and that one in particular walked over and began to punch in the program that they were going to use into the exterior console. One of the humans actually turned and had to turn on his translator and then apologized to the Tact that they had almost gone over time, and because of that, the cleaning bots might not be done. The Tact had a strange look about themselves as the wind blew the smell of humans all over them. The Tact in charge suddenly opened her eyes wide and realized what was going on. At that point, she basically shoved all her friends into the holographic center, saying how it's not an issue at all. It's not an issue at all. Thank you so much for your time, and just going past. The humans watched the Tact enter and made sure that the doors fully closed. Then they paused for a moment before one of them turning back to Ragnar and said, So, same time next week? Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you so much for joining me today on this short story. Before I go, I need to send out some special thank yous to a few of my supporters, and those will be MTF Guard, Erica Gem, SS Demon, Guardian Sage, Chris Dixon, and Sir. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.